Welcome to the Beer and Gear podcast with Chris Taylor.
Well, welcome to today's podcast, and today's guest is Mr. Rob Town. How you doing, Rob?
I'm all right, Chris. I'm all the better for speaking to you and looking at those lovely guitars behind you.
Oh, mate, it's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while. Lovely guitars, mate. Oh,
This is my Eddie collection. I look a bit like a fanboy, but these literally are the ones that I'm using at the moment to record, because this is where I sing
beautiful
the songs and all that.
Beautiful.
But yeah,
I can only sort of compete to a certain point. I've got my Star Wars blind behind there. I don't know if you can make that out. That's as good as it gets for me.
That out, but I've actually got a bed sheet that looks like that.
Have you? Oh.
In fact, I've got one that's ultra nerdy and ultra cool. But I've got one which is like the two body lengths of a Darth Vader and a Stormtrooper, right? And the pillowcases are the helmets.
Ah,
so
awesome.
You can actually get into bed and be Darth Vader. You know.
Do you do heavy breathing before you go to bed?
Sometimes.
Was that how you snore? Maybe.
I'll ask the missus.
Brilliant beer, mate. Really looking forward to it.
How's it been then? This the last year of difference. You know, let's just put it that way.
It's not been a lot different for me, if I'm completely honest with you. I've been working from home for like 12 years now, and a lot of the time it's been spent literally isolated in a room with me and a computer or a phone and whatnot, communicating through the ether on the internet and doing business and not going out a lot. Ever since 2013, I haven't been playing in bands really. It's really been about the PR company. And so when lockdown kicked in, I was kind of ready for it. I was, built for it. I lived on my own for 10 years, worked from home for 10, 12 years. And so it was a shock, of obviously not being able to do all those things that we were able to do before. But ultimately, it was business as usual. And what can I say? Just work through it, find a way. You've got to find a way. You can't let the black dog get a hold of you too much, and just got to forge on and keep busy and take the quick wins, give them a hug, not let the failures beat you up too much, and onwards and upwards always with me. I try and always remain positive even when it seems a bit dire. Yeah,
that's inspiring, man. That's inspiring, because I think, especially in the sort of the music industry or any kind of musician, as seems to have, there's few that have thrived and sort of took things on and sort of like diversified their output, let's say, to fit in with the way the world is. But there's probably 20 times that have literally got despondent with what they do, and the fact they're not playing, they're not earning, they're not doing things, and it can be horrific really when you think about it.
It's challenging times, and the word diversify, I think, is applicable, very applicable. If you can still, my opinion is, if you can still find a way to be a creative artist, to enjoy music, whether it's a listener or performing or work in the music business, and you're comfortable with it, and the stresses aren't too stressful, and the people that you work with are lovely, good people, that's fine. It might not earn you a full-time income, and like me, I diversify. I literally have like Stampede PR and marketing. I have a Lightning a Bottle with Toby Jepson, where we do mentoring with bands. I'm a shooter with Water Bear College Music. I run a small social media business, and I do a bit of mentoring on the side. And it might sound like a lot to some people, but that's just time management and organisation for me, because everything that is involved with that is all my skill set. And I still, if I wanted to, I could still go, play in a band. Admittedly, it would just be over Zoom or whatnot at the moment. But I'm fortunate. I've had like 20, 25 years of diversifying and having the pitfalls and learning quite quickly and being mentored by some very inspiring people. But yeah, if it's not natural to you. It's not really easy to pick it up very quickly. You have to learn, and in this day and age as well, it's a sprint learn as well, compared to like 10, 15 years ago. Things just move so quickly. I mean, every day we're like, well, that's new, that's new, that's new. I need to learn this, I need to do that. And it can be overwhelming sometimes. I don't know about you, but I do get overwhelmed. So I have to sort of take a deep breath and go, well, what's my next best right move? And the moment I'm in that sort of position, then that's it. I'm fine. But if you let it,
I think you're right. I mean, it seems to at the moment, it's like once you kind of get your head around one sort of medium, and you start learning it and how it works and how different the logarithms work, they either change or something else comes out that's the next best thing. You know, it's like, I mean, look at this, Zoom. Were we talking about Zoom a year ago? Now it's like, it's the best thing ever. Well, it's just like Skype or Microsoft Teams or Google Meets. Yeah, but it's Zoom. You know, it's like
it's Zoom. Yeah, it's great. It's great when you don't have your phone up the wrong way, as per the start of this interview. You're like, Bobby, your head's up the wrong way. Oh, okay. Yeah, the simplest of things. I was talking to someone the other day. I said the simplest of things that I used to be able to just do without thinking about. Now I kind of like get a bit stressed about. And I don't know what that is, because I used to be able to do them without thinking. I guess there's just so much out there now. We're just subject to so much content, so many. Every day there's a new digital platform coming along. Every day there's someone advertising on social media saying, pay me $27 and I will give you the world. I will show you how to make $1 million. And you're like, you just got to be like, well, is this what I want? Is this going to work for me? Does this fit into my framework? And it's a constant sort of questioning and answering sort of process. And I always just write things down. I don't know if you can see, but I've got my doctor's handwriting behind me on this whiteboard, and that's literally my master plan. Anytime I kind of like feel like I'm just getting sucked into Facebook newsfeed, looking at cats and whatnot, I'm like, go back to your whiteboard, go back to your plan, focus on what you need to do, because I do get disrupted and distracted very easily.
I'm just hooked on the one page at the moment. I share some of it every day. It's the alternative photographic archives. Have you seen that?
No, I've not seen that. No, I'll have to check it out.
Basically, they do an on this day thing every day, and it's like a fact about a celebrity, but they post a completely wrong photo, like a dodgy lookalike. I mean, the other day it was like, on this day in 1987, Lethal Weapon came out, starring Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, but they shared a photo of Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. It's just, I love it. I love it.
I think you just highlighted something really important there. It's like, what is it that I want to get out of the internet or the social media, the age we're in? What is it that I enjoy? And literally, if you can go, right, these are the 10 things that I want to explore and allow it to enhance my life, brilliant. I mean, that's the internet and modern day technology working, definitely. If you literally can go, well, that's the one thing I want to focus on. Everything else, whatever.
You're right, there's too much of it. It's like, even when, I mean, obviously recently started a YouTube channel, and because the, whatever you want to call it, sees that I'm a new creator and I've put 9 videos up. When I log onto newsfeed now, my YouTube channel feed now is literally just tons of videos of people going, how to put the right words in. I can unlock YouTube. I can get you 1,000 subscribers straight away and all this. And I'm just like, whoa. Let me have a go with it first before I start firing all this stuff at me. You know what I mean? It's like, it'd be the equivalent of like taking your first guitar lesson, and then someone comes in the next day and goes, I can teach you how to sweep pick. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like,
you're still on your E. You're still trying to learn it and get your finger down to the next fret. And do you want to sweep pick? Yeah. I'll show you a million notes an hour. It's like, what?
It is literally like that, and it's like, I have to like sort of turn my brain away from it, because otherwise I'll get stuck down that rabbit hole of watching hours and hours of content, which is what they want you to do because they get paid from it. And while I'm doing that, I'm not learning anything myself. I'm not creating content. I'm not booking another guest to do this with. I'm not recording anything. I'm literally watching some dude who wants me to watch them until the end of their video so we can get the sweet ad money cheese. Ultimately,
I mean, that's a really good point about, you're starting guitar, and then suddenly you're thrust with these adverts teaching you how to, sweep pick, and whatnot. And that can be really stressful, isn't it? If you're literally starting guitar and then suddenly like, well, the next thing I need to do is learn how to sweep pick. You've missed out all those key parts of the journey of learning guitar that can enable you to be able to carry out that,
or decide
stress.
whether you want to do that or not. Because I don't do that personally, because of the years putting in, I've realised that's not really the kind of sound I like very much.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't know that, because if when I was 15, someone was like, do this guitar course now, here's my course, it's only £10 a month and it's great and it'll make you shred, and 90-second Instagram video that's edited and sped up, watch me, I'm great, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of them as well. I do watch those and laugh. I mean, I watched one yesterday. I'm not going to name names because I'm pro in a way that you don't bag on your peers or anything like that, or anyone. But I did watch a video and it was just obviously sped up because the guy's head's moving double as fast. When his fingers are going, he's doing this. And it's like, well, I'm a player, so I know that I'm not going to be doing that when I'm doing that. It looked terrible. And it was like, what? But kids are watching that and going, oh, I've got to get that fast.
Well, see, their brains are wired, aren't they? Because they've been brought up.
Yeah, it's ultra competitive. It's like, I need to be as good as that. It's like,
I was talking to my friend the other day, who's he's just a hobbyist, which is probably the best thing. He loves playing guitar. It's his hobby. He's got no interest in music business. He's got his own little home studio, and he watches YouTube videos. And I remember once having a conversation with him. He was getting a bit down about the fact that his 10-year-old was, just killing it on guitar, and he's just like, I'm never going to be that good. And I said to him, well, look at it. He's been brought up with YouTube. Literally every day he's been able to go on YouTube and learn all this different stuff. And besides which, that's just a moment in time that's been captured on video. He didn't just suddenly pick it up and go, well, he might be able to, but he didn't just suddenly cut that, edit that video, out it goes. It took time. He had to learn it all. It's just sprinting now. We've got all the tools in there. If we've got the time, we could sit down and learn all this stuff. But you're right. You just got to focus on what works for you. What do you enjoy? I always say, to bands and people that I work with, is like, the smartphones and digital technology and the internet and the innovation, the evolution of it, it's incredible, but it's all too easy to be held hostage by it. Whereas we should look at it, and I sound a bit preachy here, but we should look at it as an opportunity to enhance our lives. What is it that we love about it that can enhance our lives, as opposed to, well, I've got to do all of it and I've got to answer, I've got to go back to everyone quickly, on Messenger and all this stuff that about you stresses the hell out of me.
I've had my phone on silent for 1.5 years. To be honest,
bless you.
I know people that I like it like that.
I know people that don't use smartphones for accessing the internet. I know for people that actually use phones just for phones, and I kind of like look at them and go, oh, I wish I could do that. I can't.
I know people like that literally, I send a message about something that they might answer a day later, because they literally, when they open their computer up next, they'll check their messages, like their emails. You see, everybody else sees it like, we see it like a text, don't we? Messenger is it's another text. Now, if you got a text on your phone, you're going to answer it really quick because we've got 20 odd years of doing that. I've got a text, I reply to it. But Messenger's kind of the same, isn't it? It's just because, let's put this way, right? I know lots of people, but nowadays people don't even ask for your number anymore because they don't need it, because they can just literally add you on Facebook and ping you on Messenger.
Yeah.
It's back from the old networking days where we'd all exchange numbers at gigs and be like, okay, this will work. Someone might come out of this, and it's different now. It's just add you on Facebook, ping you a message.
Message is brilliant, I think, if you've got an established relationship. Someone like yourself pops up. I'm like, okay, well, it's Chris. Yeah, let's go back to Chris. Let's have a chat, because we've got history. Yeah. But what the challenge is with Messenger is that it's opened the doors that anyone can message us. I get bands that just, people out of the blue that I don't really know, and they just message me and they go, well, here's our new video, please share it. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. We haven't gone through the process of establishing a relationship and actually working out if we like one another, for starters, And past that, is there any kind of business to be done here? Is there a win-win situation to be had here? Messenger sort of just leapt over 5 or 6 crucial steps when it comes to relationship management, and just allowed the doors to be flung open. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but in terms of Messenger, I only respond to people that I have a good relationship. And even then, sometimes I might say to them, "Can you do me a favor? Can you just drop me an email?" Because email is where my real focus is. I can flag everything. I can prioritize everything. Messenger, you just get a long list of messages and you lose track.
Yeah, I mean, this used to affect me more in when I was doing A&R, because, like you say, people would use the fact that they could find you on Facebook. Or what would get me is, like, because you were always really clever at this because you knew the rules. If you did a Facebook post, you tag the brand.
Yeah.
You'd never post something up and say, like, "Oh, I've just been and got this. I had this great day at testing amps out, and I've got this and I've got that, thanks to Chris Taylor." Because you knew straight away I would literally get bombarded with people.
Yeah.
People used to do that. I used to be like, "Can you tag the brand and not me as a person?"
Yeah.
Because I'd literally get 24/7 inbox messages of people asking for, endorsements, and can I get this, and can I come and try this, and can I have artist price and this, and blah blah. Here's my band. Can you share it? Blah blah. And I was like, the amount of times that I put Facebook statuses up saying my work's email address is blah blah blah, thank you very much, because it just got too much. It was like it was constant, because there wasn't that feeling out process. It was like, oh well, there's Chris, someone's tagged him that I like, I'll add him on Facebook, and I wouldn't accept him, but they can still message me, they can still ping me, and I used to just have all this stuff, and be like, it was overwhelming. It's like you're trying to focus on your actual point of it, which is getting some return from your investment in the artists that work with you. And we had a good bunch of people, you guys included, which we'll get onto, that literally saw that as a two-way street and saw that as a partnership and did what they could to promote both things at the same time. And it's like, but I was just bombarded with it, and you're totally right. Messenger is literally just, it took out the feeling out process between two parties completely. It's like, boom, there they are, bang. We're
going to put you together in the pub and you're going to spend the night together, but you don't like one another, and one of you hates beer. What?
That's the best. That's the best analogy. That's the best analogy ever. Yeah.
I think it's getting better. I think it's getting better, but definitely in the past 5 years, I've seen an acceleration, because more and more people are using smartphones. More and more people are using Facebook. I mean, it's approaching 3 billion users or whatnot, compared to MySpace in 2007. MySpace, remember, you literally, if you wanted to use MySpace, you'd have to get your dial-up network going. Yeah. You'd have to get behind your computer. Yeah. Get behind the computer. Now, right, what am I going to do today? Okay. You were limited. You go on MySpace and you were limited as to what you could do. And I think 2007 was a changing point, wasn't it? Because that's when Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone. So that, coupled with broadband, and then the last 5-6 years, the speed of broadband now, and the speed and the power of iPhones, that's just enabled more people to get on platforms like Facebook and to utilize Messenger. And literally, it almost needs to be this kind of like, you need to spend an hour to learn the 10 key things on how best to utilize a platform like Facebook, especially when it comes to relationships and whatnot. Because, we're having this conversation because we know each other. We haven't actually seen each other since, or properly, it would have been before Download, but we saw each other at Download. Guns N' Roses were about to go on, I think, and we just happened to come across each other's path.
Literally, a couple of years before we met up properly there, because we were both there for worky stuff, weren't we? And I remember we had a bit of a come by yard session with an acoustic guitar and a couple of beers, didn't we, in the back?
So
the second time was mad, because me and Lucy walking through, and you and Diane coming.
Diane, Guns N' Roses about to go on. And how busy was it? It was absolutely rammed. And what were the chances of us just sort of coming across each other's paths and straight away, like, "How you doing?" You know, and that's what a real relationship is. I see some people now and again. I don't see some people for years, but then because we've got that relationship and history in place, it just clicks, because you got that history. You got those stories to tell and talk about, and you've got a vested interest in that person's well-being, and that's how it should work. But yeah, the likes of Facebook Messenger, etc., just bypasses that, and it upsets some people. Not just us as a recipient, perhaps, but also the person that sent the message, because they don't understand how it works. They kind of think, because you do get some people saying it's fine to ask. It's fine to ask if you've got that relationship in place, but I'd argue it's not fine to ask if there is no relationship in place. If you're literally just like, hey, Chris, this is my band, check it out, I want a free guitar. That, you know, you're going to be like, delete. And then that person's go off, screw Chris. Screw him, how dare he do that to me.
And they think that you're an absolute git for being that way, but...
Yeah. You got to protect yourself.
It's too much now. It's like, I mean, my phone, every time I'm starting this, obviously I've got to advertise on different platforms, but like, I was speaking to Lucy the other day, so I don't even know why I've got Snapchat on my phone, because I don't use it.
Yeah.
Apart from going on it to delete notifications from it that someone might have sent me a group Snapchat, and that's all I do is open it and go delete.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I've got it. I mean, I get the Facebook and the Instagram thing, but I do miss MySpace. You know,
it was far simpler back then. But
you'd look forward to, wouldn't you? What song should I put on it today that when someone clicks on my page, it plays?
Yeah. I mean, it was simpler. But you know, look what we're doing now. We're having this fantastic chat over Zoom. The technology is absolutely incredible. I guess it's just a way of managing it. What works best for you? What makes you get the most out of it, and without it overwhelming us. And that's what I try and do every day. It's a challenge, isn't it? It's a challenge sometimes, but yeah.
What I want to get into in a bit is like all the awesome stuff that you're doing now, because I find it really, really inspiring. There's so much help that you give people, and you know, with your knowledge. But like I've done in every podcast so far, I like to get into the people that are in music. That literally, what was the initial thing that made you think, I want to do music, I want to play bass, play guitar, play drums, and where did it go from there?
Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to give you a real sprint through this.
That's all right.
I got into music really, really early on. My dad used to be a keyboard player in the 60s. He'd support bands like the Kinks, stuff like that. I think he went and saw Hendrix at the Cabin Club in Norwich back in the day. So essentially it was in my DNA to be a musician. And very quickly at an early age, I would find myself down in the lounge with the hi-fi, because I didn't have a hi-fi in my bedroom. I was like 4 or 5 at the time. There'd be mum and dad watching the TV, and there'd be me with headphones on, the old hi-fi deck with all the different decks and whatnot, the record player, the tape to tape. Love them. In the cabinet, in a nice 80s wood cabinet and whatnot. And I'll be sat there listening to vinyl. I'll be listening to the Beach Boys, Blondie, Queen, Carpenters, ELO, all stuff like that. And upstairs, my brother's like playing Whitesnake and Deep Purple and Rainbow and all these kind of bands. And so I got the bug very early on. And it was around about 12, 13, I think, that I picked up a guitar and realised I wasn't very good at it. And then someone suggested playing the bass, because everyone was a guitarist as well. You know, everyone was a guitarist and no one wanted to play bass. So I was like, right, okay, I'm going to play bass. And stupidly at the time, I thought, that's going to be really easy. You've got 4 strings, you literally just pick each string. I didn't even consider that you'd have to fret, you know, use a fretboard. You know, it was that simple. But eventually I worked it out. And I was just playing in my bedroom, and eventually I joined a band in school. And then fast forward in the 90s, I've really got the bit between my teeth. I go to college, I meet loads of super people into the same music and playing in bands, and ultimately I failed college because I just wanted to play in bands. Spent the 90s playing in various bands, got completely burnt out towards the end of 98, I think. Quit, cut my hair, got some basic learning under my belt, because as I said, I flunked college massively in 92. got some basic skills in '98. Went to go and work for a company called Fujitsu, and spent like 4 or 5 years like working on help desks. Eventually, working my way out to project management, service delivery management, working across the UK, working for Deutsche Bank and things like that, and very corporate. But I learned so much from it. Picked up so many skills from it. Incredible time, really. But always in the back of my mind during that time, I was like, I really want to play in a band. I just really, really want to play in a band. I don't want to wear a suit and tie. I want to play in a band. I want to have long hair. I want to tour. I want the rock and roll lifestyle, essentially. I didn't know what the rock and roll lifestyle was, to be fair. It was all like magazines and TV and radio. That's what I thought rock and roll lifestyle was. But then eventually I got back to the bands around 2000, 2001. And eventually I was asked to join a group. And the bass player at the time was going to be the singer. He didn't want to play bass, and they were looking for someone to come in and join them on bass while they were writing their EP and ultimately a debut album. And that band turned out to be a band called Panic Cell. It wasn't called Panic Cell at the time. I think we evolved from Gucker Cell into Panic Cell. And very quickly we formed a bunch of songs. And I don't know what it was, Chris, but I just felt that was the moment that was going to change things for me. And so I quit the full-time job, completely quit it, went to mum and dad and said, I've got to do this. And because my dad had been on his own little journey back in the 60s and then stopped to marry my mum and have a family, I think they knew that I had to do it. They kind of were cautious. They were like, are you sure you want to do it? I'm like, I've got to do it. I just know something great is going to happen out of this. So I did in 2003 or 2004, quit the full-time job and just went for it with Panic Cell. Massively went for it. And I think one of the reasons why we achieved success very quickly is that we were very driven. All 5 of us were shaking legs at the same time. There was a lot of skills involved. A lot of people knew a lot of digital technology. I was on the cusp of learning new things about it as well. Various members, myself included, were very good at networking and forming relationships. We already had relationships with people in the music industry. We were very, very lucky to be able to have things like websites, professional high-spec music videos, and be able to have access points to get on TV, radio, PR, distribution, all these things that back in 2003, 2004 were still very exclusive to the majors. We just sprinted. And for probably 2 or 3 years, we were all shaking a leg at the same time, and big things happened really, really quickly for us. And that's my starting point, I guess. And that carried on through to about 2011, where you were part of that journey, if you remember, where you came and played guitar for us for a few gigs.
I wouldn't change it for the world, mate. You were stuck at the time, and it would come through a random conversation. It's like, we got these gigs coming up, and we literally said, I'll do it.
Yeah, Damnation Festival.
And it was like, will you? It's like, yeah. And then I had to drive for 4 hours to a practice and stuff. But do you know what? I'd do it all again tomorrow because it was great. I loved it. It's like.
It was great fun. The whole thing.
Because we first met probably download 2009.
Yeah, sounds about right. Something like that.
In the VIP campsite. And it was you and Age. And
blimey.
we just all got on and ended up spending a good night and a few beers. And then we started talking probably a few months later about Ibanez and stuff, didn't we? And it was like, yeah, okay, this works. Because at the time you've got Polish Woodstock coming up and all this great stuff and some videos lined up. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I was actually at Amsterdam the one year, and it was because I used to go twice a year, and it was where they, the meeting of all the distributors, and they'd show you what they were bringing out next year, and they'd show you their marketing plans, and it was the big Ibanez presentation, and they put on the full screen in the massive Hilton we were in the ballroom they had a big screen for the presentation, and they put the photo of you guys with the Ibanez guitars looking at with the crowd behind you at Polish Woodstock as the main thing in their presentation, and I was like,
amazing,
wow, that's ace, you know.
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's another life, isn't it? Looking everything that we've done, self included, it seems like another life. But yeah, good times, challenging times, very challenging times. I was in the middle of a breakdown during that point, but I just had to see it through, because you just can't turn down things like those sort of gigs, those sort of moments. You know, literally in 2010 when we were doing Metallica and all these different things, and I was like ready to quit the band. I was so burnt out. My mental health was at its lowest. I'd literally been doing the band for like 8 or 9 years, full on, absolutely every day, full on, and really not seeing, apart from fantastic opportunities, not being able to earn a living out of it, still having to do a side job, temp job and whatnot. And you, as an artist, a creative artist, I think we're very fragile. I think our brains, you know, they border on the sparks, the genius points that allow you to create music, to be able to be a performer, whatever it is. There's also this part of us that is very fragile. And I think I was open to that very much so towards the end. But thankfully, I worked it out, got through it. I did leave the band split up eventually, but I wouldn't change anything for the world. You know, I met my wife because of it, made some good friends. You know, we're having a chat now about it because of what happened. Everything that you did for the band, including coming and playing with us, you know.
That's going above
It's just
beyond.
fantastic. Yeah, it's going above and beyond. Jesus, when are you going to call that favour back in, mate? Jeez, we owe you massively.
We'll
incredible.
See.
We'll see. Yeah. It's brilliant, mate. Yeah, wouldn't change it for the world.
Oh man, it's great times. You know, it's always going to have a special part in my memory. It's just that, you know, the autumn and winter of 2010 or something. It was just fun, you know. Lots of miles. And the weird thing is like, because it was so sort of grassroots at that time, it's like people were expected us to all turn up in like a minivan or something, and literally we were all driving separate cars to gigs at the time, weren't we? All over the place, up to Leeds, down to Canterbury, and all this. And I was going back.
Yeah, because I think Luke must have been tour managing someone, probably tour managing Skindred or something. So we had to make our own way. Because I mean, by that point, the band was, you know, we'd lost 2 original members. The guitarist that we had, Nathan, he wasn't able to do the shows. I think he might have stepped away at the time, so why we asked you to come in. Luke was very much really hot on the tour managing. He was doing so well with it.
And look at it, he's done up and up. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, Machine Head, I think, was his last gig. TM, Machine Head.
Chili Peppers.
Chili Peppers, Florence and Machine and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, you know, it was challenging, you know, but you know, I can definitely reflect on it now and go, well, yeah, absolutely, he had to do that. He absolutely had to do that. Panic Cell was great fun. We achieved a lot of stuff, but ultimately it was never going to be the end game. It was always part of everyone's journey as to what happened next, you know. So yeah, I look back on it and go, fuck. It was tough sometimes, but we had some amazing times as well. And I look back on it with fond memories.
And some like great relationships coming out of it in the end, you know. I mean, there's that, like I said, I'll give him a shout out now. I was chatting to Mr. Brian Fitzpatrick last night, and you know, he just holds you guys in such great esteem because of the, you know, the relationships and the memories. And it's like we're all kind of part of a big gang that if we ever bump into each other, it's like, you know.
I'm surprised Brian doesn't hold me in, you know, like put a gun to my head and go, why did you do it? Because the thing with Brian, literally, I used to, when the band first started, we had our first EP out, I was going through like forums, and I think I met Brian on Killswitch Engage forum or something. And she said, I'm in a band, you know, I do this. And he goes, oh, send us a link. And I sent the link, and that was it. Ever since then, you know, he literally stepped up to the plate because he's a fantastic graphic designer and various other things. And yeah, he helps us out so much. And, you know, people like yourself, Bri, and many other people, it's just like you say, relationships.
Put Latham in there as well, man.
Mark Latham, yeah. Ended up yeah, it's just like incredible. And look where everyone's going. You know, we're all doing our different things, but we always like, you know, at some point we reconnect and talk about the old days and ask what you're doing now. And everyone's pretty productive, which is really encouraging. It's not like no one's looking back on it and goes, "No, it's much better back then." But it's like, well, no, I think everyone's like kind of like looking at now, going, "Well, this is what I'm doing now. I can smell the roses, but I want to continue and challenge myself, and the opportunities are there to be able to I just got to work hard and smart, and you find a way." Yeah, great.
Well, that kind of leads on nicely, actually, because after the sort of live playing era of your career, when you chose to sort of end it there, I mean, you started out on your own businesses, man, which was great to watch from afar. Because at the time, I'm seeing things coming up on social media, or we're having the whole chat about what you're up to. Because there was a band after that I helped you out. We did some stuff together with some videos and things. But then seeing you forge ahead with like what essentially you're doing now has been inspiring. It's been really, really inspiring, man.
Oh, cheers, mate. I'll be honest. I was broken after Panic Cell. We tried that Seven Deadly band, but my head was a complete mess, and I was like, "What am I going to do? What am I going to do?" I've got no real qualifications. I've been out the business world since for 9 years or whatever it was. What am I going to do? And the one thing I kept coming back to was PR, because I did a lot of PR for Panic Cell. So that's why I set up Stampede. And I deliberately didn't call myself Bobby Town. I didn't want to use Panic Cell as a springboard. Not that we were ever massive or anything like that, but I wanted to see what I could achieve on my own steam, and just see that, you know, I've done this with the band, what can I do on my own? So I set up Stampede, deliberately didn't call myself Bobby Town, called myself Rob Stampede. And I just started reaching out. I built a shiny website. I made it look as good as it could. I wrote the bio and made things pop out and made sure that people could see that I was a credible, good person. And fortunately, it worked. I was, you know, I think my first client was TerraVision, something like that. And I literally, all I do is like reach out to bands and say that, you know, I'm a big fan. I'm doing this now, you know, and I'd let them know who I was and my track record in confidence. But I wouldn't publicly go out there and say, you know, I used to play in this band and we did all this stuff. And because I didn't want it to look like I was like, oh, I've got all this experience, so you need to give me money, you know.
Which is what we said earlier. There's so many people doing that at the moment. You know?
Yeah. I've never been like that. I mean, I've Stampede. I have a very small roster. I mean, I've got no one at the moment. I'm literally just wrapping up a campaign, and I've got some campaigns further down the road and whatnot. But it's always about quality. It's got to be about quality and authenticity. And do I believe in the music? And more importantly, do I believe in the people that are involved? Is there a good relationship there to be had? Because there's nothing worse than just taking on a job because it's a payday and suffering bad relationships. There's stress that comes with it. And, you know, we were talking about the access points with Facebook Messenger. I've been there, and it's just, you know what it's like. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. So I have firewalls now. I have these systems in place that if someone wants to work with me, they instantly get a form they have to fill out. And by filling out that form, I can tell straight away, okay, you're going to be a nightmare. So here's an option. Maybe you want to book a consultation with me, and I can advise you on the best way to navigate the PR process. Or if I filled out the form and the music's great and they've ticked all the boxes that work for me, I'm like, okay, let's have a chat. But I have to be very careful, because I have in the past just allowed myself to let anyone in, and I end up spending like 2 or 3 hours on the phone to them, giving them gold, and then they go away and I don't hear from them again. So I've worked that one out eventually over the years. But ultimately, I mean, yes, Stampede, PR, marketing. It's also, there's some mentoring involved in there as well to help musicians understand how to best navigate the music industry, avoid the common pitfalls, and have a good time doing it as well, you know. And one of the key things for me is like managing relationships. You know, things happen because you have relationships in place. We were fortunate enough to be endorsed because of you, because we formed a relationship. We liked each other, and things happened because of it. We got gigs, we got on TV and whatnot because we formed relationships with the program managers and the promoters and the bookers and whatnot. Simple put, if you can get relationships in place and you've got something of value to offer, great things can happen. Amazing things can happen. We proved that time and time again. And I'm fortunate enough to let that be happening with Stampede as well. But it's mainly because I work with good, authentic people that have our own well-being interest at heart. Bit of a rambling answer to that. So,
no, it's actually brilliant, because I think people need that even more now in these times.
I think you're right,
because it's not.
Yeah.
It really. I try and tell anybody that has a similar chat with me, it's not about being the biggest, the fastest, the brightest, the sharpest, the poshest looking. It really is about how you interact as a person with other people and how you form those relationships. Now you keep those relationships, and basically don't be a dick.
Yeah.
It's like,
I don't know, is this going to look? Is this going to be in reverse? Is that in reverse?
No, it's fine. That's perfect. Exactly.
I have that every day. That and my whiteboard are my two go-to moments whenever I feel a little bit overwhelmed or I'm feeling anxious or I'm letting my mind get the better of me. It's like, oh, just take a step back. You're being a dick. Just take a step back. It's your brain. That's nothing else. It's your brain. Don't be a dick. Yeah, absolutely. Don't be a dick.
Because it's people are subliminally being dicks as well.
I don't understand it, because they don't understand. I'd argue they don't understand the environment they're in. They don't understand how to navigate the environment. They don't understand the people that they're trying to communicate with, because there's no relationship in place. There's all these various factors, and it's quite simple. Are you authentic? Are you looking to seek a beneficial relationship that's a win-win? Do you have something to offer, especially if it's business? Because we've all got the shiny tools. We can all produce, promote, distribute our music. We can all connect with each other on the internet and whatnot. But really, the difference is going to be, is there something of value there? Is there a relationship there? If there is, then doors open. Let's come and have a chat. Let's see if we can work stuff out. It might work out, it might not, but there'll be no great shakes about it, because you've got a relationship in place and you can talk to each other and be honest with each other. Yeah, I think that's the key for me. I think we're lacking that a lot nowadays.
I think you're right. And people seem to be too concerned in getting into the popularity race. Which is social media to a T, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than picking up on these points that are so important, it's like,
yeah,
everything to me, it's so synthetic. It's like you look at things and you go, well, that guy's got so many likes for doing this and doing it. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, because most of the people clicking the stuff haven't even watched it. You know what I mean? It's much more important to like you say, to have things built on relationships, because with relationships creates engagement, which creates much better content anyway, because you know where your audience is, you know what to do to find another audience, but it's genuine. You're not just trying to find, what's the latest trend today? I'll do a guitar video about that. I'll do an interview with so and so. I'll cut my hair differently. It's like you say, it's devoid. It's taken away many steps in the past would have been essential to A, getting anywhere with music, or B, forming any relationships to enable you to do it properly. It's you've got to be able to switch it off, haven't you? You've got to be able to turn off. You've got to be able to go, do you know what? I'm not going to stare at this feed anymore, because if it starts to depress you and it starts to get on your nerves, put that phone down. Leave it. Because everybody's in a race, aren't they? It seems to me they are. There's people coming off Instagram now because who are amazing players or musicians that are coming off it just for a break, because they can't deal with the mental stress of having to do so many videos to such a good level to keep their presence up there, and that's sad, man. It's like,
What's that song by Paul Gilbert? Might have been his last album. It's called "Let That Battery Die." It's about the phone. I think it's the phone. I might be wrong, but it's called "Let That Battery Die." And yeah, I couldn't agree more. As I said before, that the evolution of technology, digital platforms, smartphones, etc. I think it's amazing. It is literally just understanding how to let it enhance your life, not hijack it. I now and again I have to really pinch myself and stop myself because I'm on my phone and I forget why I'm on my phone. I'm like, what am I doing? Okay, I need to go into Instagram. Press Instagram. Scrolling through Instagram. No, I don't need to be on Instagram. Oh, it must be on Facebook. On Facebook. No, I don't need to be on Facebook. What am I on my phone for? I completely forget. So I have to put my phone down, reset my brain, come back upstairs, maybe have a cup of tea and stop and just like let my brain calm down. Look at me doctor's handwriting on my whiteboard and go, oh, you need to be writing that press release, you dick. Someone's paying you to do that. Go and do your job.
You're right. I'm the same, and I get told off for it. Sometimes I'll be watching a film, but at the same time, I'm just. I'm not giving the film the justice of actually enjoying it.
I'm paying £6 a month for Netflix. I'm not bloody watching the thing because I'm on my phone looking at Facebook feeds and.
Yeah, and at the same time, I'm not really giving the respect to the time and effort and skill that's gone into making that movie that I've put on to watch because I'm literally just listening to it in the background.
It's crazy.
And I've got to stop doing it. My other thing I do, which is actually more predictable, I don't class this as a bad habit, but some people will say it is, but I'll noodle on a guitar while watching a film. I'll literally say until like Lucy's just like bang, you know.
But then I would offer, look at Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen would never be without his guitar in any situation, would he? He'd literally be sat there because and I would argue that's the same for you. The guitar is just part of you, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
There's actually a guitar upstairs. Literally, I can reach it from a lying down position in bed. I can literally roll over and go, "Oh, I've got an idea," without getting up.
Amazing.
It's like
symbiotic. It's amazing. I know this actually. What we need to consider is 2010 was a game-changing year because Instagram came along. I had a moment last year just before lockdown happened. For some reason, I went down to Kent and I saw Harge and a couple of mates, and I decided to take a little pilgrimage because I was born in Chatham in Kent. I haven't been there for years, and I'm now in Norfolk, by the way. So I drove down to Kent and I saw my mates on Friday night, and then the next night I had another couple of mates to see. But on that Saturday, I decided to take a drive to go to all the houses that I lived in Kent. I lived in about 7 houses, growing up as a kid with my family and eventually buying my own. And I revisited every one of those, and each one I had these memories, and I was like, oh, wow, amazing. The big one, and I'll get to the point right now, the big one for me was a house I bought in 2001 in Walderside in Chatham. And I stopped off at the local sort of mini shopping area. And I thought, I'll go and grab a cup of coffee. I've got my laptop with me. I can do a bit of work. So I went and sat down and had a coffee. And as I came out, I was taken back 10 years ago before I moved. And I remembered exactly what that place looked like and how people acted at that time. And what struck me was in 2010, we weren't walking around like this, right? Imagine that's my phone. We weren't walking around now. People were just walking around without phones, pretty much. But then fast forward to 2020, in exactly that same location, which hadn't really changed much. Pretty much everyone I saw walking past me stuck on their phone doing that. And that was like, bloody hell. In 10 years, we've gone from not doing it to literally we're glued to our screens and not paying attention to that car that's just about to come on over and knock me down. Fascinating. But Instagram really was a game changer. and it brought about, faster broadband, etc. Smartphone evolving to what it is now, and yeah, it's
like you say,
fascinating.
we literally walk around, like you say, to a shopping area now with something in our hand, which is probably 4 times the power of our laptops back in them days.
Yeah,
crazy. I mean, that
absolutely boggling.
These are actually supercomputers that fit in your hand. Compared to what computers were back in the MySpace era and all that. You know what I mean? It's like,
well, they'd be more powerful than the first ever space shuttle, whatever it was, back in 50s, 60s. It's mind-boggling.
It's crazy. It's getting to the point now where, like, literally, it's what's next. I do think they're starting to slow down a bit now, though, with the leaps and bounds. It's like when a new one comes out, it's like, well, I don't really need to get that because it's not really much different from the last one. So let's say a few years before, the jumps were big, weren't they? You go from a say iPhone, for example, you go from one version to the next, and you had to get it because the camera was 10 tons better, and it had all this and all that. But now they're not really moving that fast anymore, are they? It's like I'll stick with my 7 or my 8 for a few years, then I'll get another one. So
it works. If it ain't broke, if it doesn't need fixing, just use what you got. It's like cars. I'm not a big person when it comes to new cars. We've got our cars like 10 years old, and we're not driving anywhere at the moment, are we? So it doesn't really bother me.
I literally took mine off the road for the whole of the thing. So I thought, well, there's not really much point in expending on it if we're going to get told off for driving outside the village. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah. So incredible what's been going on.
What about lightning in a bottle then? Because that was an interesting thing that came up within the last couple of years as well. That spiked my interest anyway. Getting involved with Toby Jepson, who at the start of the busker sessions, by the way, I was always commenting on a Thursday because
awesome.
I was still am a massive Little Angels fan.
Incredible band. Yeah,
everything. So I'd be the one asking for, like, instead of the obvious ones, I'd be asking for Splendid Isolation and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and getting comments back going, "Oh, awesome! Yeah, he did that one." I was like, "Yeah." He suddenly came out. You got a relationship with Toby, and then a separate business as well. And I'm interested in the mentoring a band things.
I mean, Toby. You were there at the start of it, actually. Pretty much, you helped us out with Toby.
Remember that Laney and I the acoustic tour.
Again, it's all coming back full circle. I when I first started Stampede, Toby was one of the first people that I reached out to because I've always felt. The thing is, I was a massive fan of Little Angels back in the day. And then he just completely dropped off my radar. And I remember back in 2007, Panic Cell were playing the Fields of Rock Festival in Netherlands. And I remember walking to our stage and I could hear Fastway playing, which is Eddie Clark's band from Motorhead. And the singer, I was like, that sounds like Toby Jepson. Now, bearing in mind, I haven't heard Toby's stuff in years. I hadn't even heard Toby's solo stuff. I hadn't listened to Little Angels properly in years, but I completely recognised his voice because he's got a unique voice.
Yeah.
And it was him. And then I was like, wow, it's Toby Jepson. It just took me back to my, early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And I saw him in the artist area, but I didn't have the balls to say hello to him. And fast forward to 2013, and I've set up Stampede. And I'm like, right, I want to try and work with some legacy acts. Because I knew if I get some legacy acts on my roster, that will open doors for me with regards to press and media. So Toby was one of the first people that I reached out to. And fortunately, he accepted it and we met up for a coffee and we got along really, really well. We quickly formed a business relationship. I helped out with some PR. We did an EP together. And the relationship just carried on from then, from 2013 to now. But amongst that, we quickly realised we had a love of songwriters because Toby's a bona fide songwriter.
Yeah.
And I've always felt as technology has evolved, the art of songwriting is perhaps getting lost in favour of the production values. Now, that's just an opinion of mine. But I'm strongly opinionated on this, but I've always felt that if the song's good enough, you can strip it back to an acoustic guitar or a piano or a small 3-piece orchestra and that song will still shine, as opposed to we've got this big fat riff and we're just going to fit the vocals over the top of it because the big fat riff is sledgehammer.
And we can copy it and loop it.
Yeah. It's always, you know, I've always felt strongly that the songwriting is the heart of any song, and the everything that surrounds it is simply clothing. You know, the riffs is clothing. It's craft. You know, yourself as a guitarist, you've worked extremely hard to learn guitar and hone your craft. But ultimately, it's like we're musicians. Are we songwriters? I'd argue no. So I do feel strongly that if there are bona fide songwriters out there that have something incredible to offer, then those need to be explored and nurtured. And quickly, what happened with me and Toby, we realised we were lovers of songwriting, of songwriters. So the obvious ones being David Bowie and Freddie Mercury, for example, always come up in conversation whenever we're sort of setting the benchmarks. Toby as a songwriter is always going, well, you know, this doesn't meet the standards of someone like Freddie Mercury or David Bowie, etc. And that's fine. You know, you need those benchmarks in order. Is it good enough? And we're both very, very critical of our own work, of songs. And we quickly realised that we wanted to help bands find that way back to the beating heart of what it is to be a musician, whether it be through songwriting or whether it be through the pure joy of being able to get into a rehearsal room together and just turn up the amps and go, you know, just have fun doing it. Because ultimately, I think it could be argued that social media especially has taken over from that. The first thing that bands are thinking about is, well, we need to get a great looking website. We need to get great looking social media. We need to make sure we're getting all these videos done, all our content. We've got a content calendar, all important stuff at the right time. But it's coming ahead of the actual music itself in some cases, in a lot of cases, I'd argue. So I think it's about 2015, 2016, we were like, well, we're going to set up a business. We're going to set up this mentoring agency, consultation sort of agency that offers bands either online sessions where we discuss the music or we mentor them, or in the moment environments in rehearsal rooms where we spend a day with them. We go through songwriting processes and talking about what it is to be a musician in the digital age. It didn't happen around then because Toby was asked to form a band, and the band became Wayward Sons. And so that's been a major focus for him the past few years. But then we finally got it together in 2018, and we launched a company called Lightning in a Bottle, which has, as I've just highlighted, it's a consultation agency there to help musicians get the best out of their music, to get back to what it means to write songs and to just make the music unique if possible, as opposed to sounding like a lot of other things. So yeah, it's an interesting journey. We're continuing with that journey. It's not so much at the moment. We've been focusing a lot on Toby's own solo career and developing that. And as you said, you know, the busker sessions, and ultimately we're working towards a new solo album with him. But it's at the forefront of everything we do. Is like, how can we help artists? How can we help musicians understand how they can best utilize the environments and the tools that they have at their disposal without getting sucked into the world of social media too much and thinking that's where their focus needs to be. But yeah, it's like the grey hairs, giving a bit of wise words to the young uns if they want it, because they might look at it and go, "You what? You old fart? What do I want to know about that?" Yeah, it's good.
I think it's great, and I think it's much needed, because it's a harsh world out there, man, and it's also a harsh world not even out there, because you, like you say, everything's so accessible. It's a harsh world sat on your sofa if you let it be,
Yeah.
If you're trying to break a band, like all you got to do is look at your phone and go, oh, it's daunting. It's it is what it is. It's not going to change very soon.
Exactly.
The thing that always gets me as well. We're just saying about people who want to songwriting, and my main bugbear, because I was doing a lot of different recording things over the last. I do it for fun.
Mm-hmm.
I do it for other people's fun as well. I do it, and I think maybe someone else will like that song, and it gives me an outlet to create. But it's the same for all this bit. I feel sorry for the bona fide amazing songwriters that are releasing music, and nowadays realise that most people are going to listen to them through one of these, and sometimes not even with headphones on.
Might not even listen to the whole song and might go, "Oh, that sounds nice."
Correct.
15, 30 seconds up, next.
Correct. It's not the same as like I'm an album guy. It's like vinyl wise, I know it's big and fashionable now and stuff again, which is great. I still got all my brother's old vinyl. And now I've said this on here, he's going to ask for him back, isn't he?
He shot yourself in the foot there.
He probably won't. But like CDs, for example, and I like to listen to the whole album, because an album should tell a story. I've never been a singles guy. I hate it when I do. Well, for example, let's be honest. My main sort of income for the last 3 years has been playing guitar in a Bon Jovi tribute duo, because it goes down so well. Because you can go to a general venue and 90% of the people will know 50% of the songs.
Yeah.
You never have a bad. You never have a bad gig, and it paid the bills. But what used to get me is the question that comes out: what's your favourite album? Crossroads. That's
the best of.
It's the best of. It's not an album. It's like
it's slippery when wet, surely. Or
New
is
Jersey,
it?
New Jersey for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'd argue that it's New Jersey.
Me singer would say these days.
I mean, they're all great albums. But if you go back to Slippery When Wet, I had an interesting conversation with Toby recently about this, because Little Angels toured with Bon Jovi on the Keep the Faith tour in 92, 93.
And they toured with Van Halen on the
Van Halen as well.
Live Right Here, Right Now tour. They did that one with.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know this, but Toby was actually asked to be considered to be the vocalist for Bon Jovi before Van Halen, before Gary Cherot. It was muted point. It never happened. It wasn't.
If he'd got that would have been awesome.
But so the case in point, they were touring with Bon Jovi in '93 on the Keep the Faith tour, and Toby and John got on really well. Toby spent a lot of time with John Bon Jovi, and the first thing he asked him, because I think what happened basically, he was in a dressing room first gig. John Bon Jovi comes into the dressing room, goes, "Do you want to have a coffee? Do you want to have a chat?" So here's Toby. He's like, "Slippery When Wet" changed his life when that came out. So here's Toby going, "Oh my God!" And also bear in mind, they had a #1 album at the time, but because he's such an authentic, real person, that didn't affect him. What affected him was, here's John Bon Jovi in his dressing room asking if he wants to go for a coffee. It's like mind blowing. So they go and have a coffee, and Toby's like, "Slippery When Wet, did you know what was gonna happen? You give love a bad name, living on a prayer, wanted dead or alive. Did you know when you were doing this?" He was like, John Bon Jovi said, "We thought we were done. The record company was ready to drop us. They literally put us in the hands of what they deemed as a safe producer and a safe co-writer."
So you had Desmond Child and Bruce Fairbairn.
Desmond Child, yeah. So, but they weren't at that super high level at that point. So literally, they were put in these safe hands. The record label were looking to at least make their money back and then probably drop the band. And what John Bon Jovi told Toby was that one day, him and Richie Sambor were walking along somewhere in New Jersey, and they're like discussing what they were going to do next, because in their eyes, they thought the band was done. They thought the record label was going to drop them, and that was it. They were ready to go back to day jobs. They were talking about working at their uncle's garage in New Jersey and all this stuff. Of course, that didn't happen. But yeah, I thought that was astonishing. I really thought that tale was astonishing, because we know the rest is history, obviously.
Yeah.
But there was a point where literally the record label were like, "Well, if this doesn't work out, we're dropping you." And But that album changed the game.
Oh,
That
yeah,
absolutely changed the game. But it just shows you just don't know what's around the corner. Nothing's set in stone. And as we know, Desmond Child went on to write other huge songs. Bruce Fairbairn, massive albums. And the band itself, undeniable. Everything from Slippery through to These Days, in my eyes, is a cracking album.
And then you look at it as well, the people's careers that are launched off those albums, where Bob Rock was an engineer on things like New Jersey and that.
Yeah.
And now it's like one of the most sought after producers in the world, but literally he was the guy putting the mics on the drums on you know what I mean? And from that you get Dr. Feelgood, and it's like okay, then you get the Black Album, because Metallica love the sound of Dr. Feelgood, the way it started up. We want to sound that weight of the guitars and the drum sounds and that. And then you get the Black Album, which the sound was honed off Motley Crue, which I think is great. You know what I mean?
And then you get what else did you get? You get did he do Keep the Faith? Or was that Brute? I can't remember who did Keep the Faith. I can't remember. He did Motley Crue's self-titled album, didn't he? With John Corabi.
John Corabi, which I actually love that album.
I love it, mate. That album, in my opinion, the production of that album is the template for music as we know it today in terms of hard rock. You listen to it, it's what inspired Nickelback, and it's inspired a ton of bands, and they're using the plugins from that, I reckon.
I wouldn't disagree with that at all.
Incredible drum sound.
I think that album was way ahead of its time when it was trying to what they were trying to do with that album was try and make something that wasn't ahead of its time. They wanted to fit in because they'd lost market share. They wanted to release something grungy. But what they actually created was something that created 90s or 2000s alternative rock. Yeah. And really, if you look at what they were doing, they were literally like, grunge has come out now. We don't look very cool. We've lost the singer. We're playing smaller places, but we want to be hip. But they overshot it by 10 years. Yeah. They literally did,
Yeah. Those two albums for me are just Motley Crue benchmarks.
Have you watched The Dirt?
Yeah. I prefer the book, if I'm honest, but I enjoyed the film.
I do say that to people. I enjoyed the film, and a lot of people I know have watched it, and I've just told them read the book, because the film has got so much they can't put in it that's in the book.
Yeah.
I mean, the book can make you ill, can't it? It can make you go and have a bath for 3 hours after you've read it.
It literally does what it says on the tin. It is filthy, but I think it's such an incredible there's so many lessons to be learned from books like that. People say be careful what you wish for, and ultimately if it's do you want to become a drug addict, do you want to become a heroin addict, do you want to be depressed,
do you want to be in
prison? It's there's so many cautionary tales in that.
Loads.
Like I said, when I was a teenager in the 90s, I wanted to live a rock and roll lifestyle, and I experienced a little bit of it, and it didn't. It was amazing, but at the same time, I got so many issues because of it, mental health issues, and I was the size. You remember, I was the size of a house at some stage. I was just drinking too much and whatnot.
Sometimes an endorsement with Jägermeister is not a great thing, is it? It is a fantastic thing for promotion. But I remember being on the tour and literally just arriving at the venue. I'm like, "What's that?" Oh, it's our customary couple of bottles of Jägermeister and 12 test tubes. We get them at every gig, and I'm like. That was a good Christmas, by the way. That was because we drove to every gig. We kept putting the rider in our cars and going home, didn't we?
Nice, that's good.
Christmas, it was like, look at all this.
Yeah, you get the chance to have an experience of the rock and roll lifestyle. You're going to take it, definitely. But it's looking back now. I wish there was someone there, sort of taking me to one side and who had a proven track record. So, for example, Nicky Sixx or John Bon Jovi take me to one side and go, "Hey, man, it's cool, it's fun, but this is doing you a bit of damage." Because I would have paid attention, but oh my God, John Bon Jovi's giving me some advice, and I would pay attention to it. But it was so taboo back then. We weren't, we couldn't have these sort of conversations in public. We weren't doing these things. What I applaud now is the fact that we're talking more and more about this. We're talking more about mental health. We're talking about how you can have a positive career in music. We're talking about the Sharks. We're talking about, there's loads of groups, Facebook groups out there where people can go in and get advice and discover right moves and avoid the misfires, and especially avoid the Sharks. I do applaud the fact that that's definitely a step forward when it comes to what technology has given us, because back then you literally you're just fumbling around finding your own way and fucking your life up. But having a good time whilst doing it.
Well, yeah. I'd say, you wouldn't change a thing in the world, because you've earned so much respect from doing it the way you've done it, and coming out with all this experience, which you're now passing on to new acts and stuff, which I find really, really inspiring, mate. I really do.
Thank you. I did the master's degree in 2019. And again, I had no education experience after college, really. I had a basic course so I could get into business. But I did the master's degree just so I could have those letters after my name to prove myself that I am good enough. But more importantly, to be able to say to people that approach me, I am trustworthy. I have got your best interest at heart. I'm not here just to take your money. Some things I do for free. I will help a band out. I helped a band out the other day and did a press release for free because I like the band and I wanted to support them. But essentially, my mission statement is I want to be viewed as one of the most trustworthy, reliable people in the music business that has people's well-being at heart, and ultimately help musicians enjoy being creatives and enjoy music. Because there was a time where I couldn't pick up a guitar, I couldn't listen to music. All of it was so fused together, and I hated it. I hated myself, and it's taken me a while to get back to a place where I can put on an album and just enjoy music for what it is, because it is such a wonderful, wonderful thing. And playing an instrument, I mean, I've got my little thing there going on there, and I need to spend more time on that, to be fair. I need to get that keyboard out, that guitar out, and that Ibanez Soundgear bass that you might recognise. Yeah,
the SRXO Doom.
Yeah, it's in that photo that's on this podcast. It's an amazing thing, isn't it? Being a musician, being a creative artist, the joys that come with it. But I warn people, it's like, if you want to get past the hobby stage, if you want to start promoting yourself and selling your music and trying to get streams and whatnot, you are in the music business. Whether you know it or not, you're in the music business. So you need to pick up some learning and some skills really, really quickly. Otherwise, you're going to be in for a very, very challenging time. And that's putting it in a nice way.
Yeah. I think a lot of people that are in sort of bands could do with watching this chat, actually, because there's a number of points in it that are great. I like saying proper inspiring. Like, what I'm going to do as well is I'll put links for everything that you do in the description here as well, because you've got.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Because you've created a few great things as well, and your guidelines and theses for people to follow as well in the last couple of years as well, which is well worth people checking out and signing up for.
Yeah, and none of this is what we're talking about. None of it is rocket science. None of it is going to take up all your time. It's like literally, I would say to anyone, pick 10 things that you need to know about and just do them well. Whether it is relationship management, learn how to be authentic, and develop relationships. And then it becomes second nature to you, I just think we're now at a point where it's so competitive. I hate using that word. It shouldn't be competitive, but it is. We're all trying to compete. Well, not all of us. But if you're in a band and you want to get on Download or onto Planet Rockstock or something, you're competing against other bands. So how do you get to the top of the tree with that? Well, you've got to be the best band possibly can. You've got to have relationships, connections. You've got to have a fan base that are rabid. All these different things that you've got to realise. It's not just a simple, I'm going to send you a message and check out my band. It's not that. That comes at a much later stage.
And look how many views I've got on Facebook.
Yeah. Literally, none of that shit matters. Especially if you're faking it as well. That can be spotted a mile away. All this stuff. the industry has all the tools to spot, if you are faking it. Got to be authentic. Definitely got to be authentic.
Well, mate, it's been absolutely amazing to catch up and talk to you. Like I say, any links to anything will be put in the description below. If you can send those all to me, mate.
I will do, Chris. Thank you, mate. Really appreciate your time.
And I hope people get some proper inspiration out of this chat as well, because I wanted to get you on because it'd be a different thing to the normal sort of look at the gear I use and the guitar I use and the amps that I use type chat, really, when really we've gone in. I wanted to get something into the other side of it of someone that used to play and used to tour and has toured the world and done that, but now has come out of it with a different outlook and a different mindset on helping other people and how they can progress in their own careers. It's I think it's really worth a look for a lot of people.
Oh, thank you, mate. It means a lot, and
And on a personal note, I'm proper proud of you as well. Really am.
Cheers, mate.
I watch along from afar, and I'm always checking out things and liking them for you because I do. I think it's relationships we formed back in the day, they last a lifetime. You know what I mean? It's great.
Yeah, and everything that we do, it's literally we're doing it for the right reasons, aren't we? We can go to bed at night and our conscience is clear and crystal clear, definitely. Cheers, Chris. I really appreciate it, mate.
It's been awesome, and like I say, to everybody who's watching these, if you could like and subscribe, it's all much appreciated, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, Rob. I'll catch you later.
Cheers, Chris.
You've been listening to the Beer and Gear podcast with Chris Taylor.